So the cats finished, and then Juan
They scatter in different directions?
Yeah, that's true. They scattered in different directions. They were finally out of our way, and before we started moving forward again, Juan looked over towards me and he said, "You saw nothing."
Welcome to the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast with TJ and Sonny.
Hello and welcome to the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast. My name is TJ McConahay, and on Mother's Day, which is the time we recorded this episode, I am actually not joined by Sonny. He is out this week. I am joined by the mother of my children and the mother of my inner child, and the silent partner to this show, my wife, Brittany McConahay. Brittany, what is up?
Not much. Not much is up. I want to say hi to all the randos out there.
Randos, yep.
I am the number one biggest rando because I'm the biggest Fringe fan there is.
That's right. Well, actually, you're not a rando because, you're just a person that we know.
No,
but yes, Britt has been a silent partner in the show. She tells Sonny and I constantly what we should cut and what we should keep. She's probably kept us from being exposed as some sort of terrible youth workers for some of the things that got cut from the show that you guys don't need to know about. Things that we've done in the past. Anyway, we got an awesome show planned for you. What are some of the things that we're going to be talking about today on the show, Brittany?
All right. Well, we're going to keep the basic structure of the show, the same segment. So we're going to start off with question of the week.
Yes.
And this week it's going to be Mother's Day themed.
Mother's Day themed question of the week.
Kind of.
Yes.
Yeah. And then we're going to move on to Tales from the Fringe.
Mm-hmm.
Tales from the Fringe. And then we are going to wrap it up with the new segment, Pick or Flick.
Pick or flick. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it.
Should be fun.
Just to give you guys a little bit more background into my wife, Britt, she has been a youth worker for upwards of 13 years now.
Yeah.
She has been my partner / volunteer in every youth ministry that I've been a part of. She knows her stuff when it comes to youth ministry. She holds a couple degrees about youth ministry to her name. So she is a great, not just a great fill-in host. She is a great youth worker, and there's lots to glean here from her. And I'm hoping that some of you randos out there whose wives help them a ton in their ministry will comment on our Facebook page about this episode especially. All right, so Britt, I think I'm done with all this chit-chat.
I think so. It's about time.
Let's get to the show.
All right. Let's get to the show.
Join the conversation on Facebook and Instagram. And when you subscribe to this podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating. We desperately need your approval.
So the question this week is, what are some things as a youth pastor's wife, as a ministry partner, you've been asked to do to help your husband succeed in youth ministry? So obviously I'm not going to be able to answer this question, but we have some fun things with this thing. So Britt, what are some of the things that you've been asked to do in youth ministry?
Yeah. Well, over 13 years, I think there's been a lot of crazy things that I've been asked to do or expected to do.
Yes.
So I'm going to share a couple of those, and then I'm going to read some that I gathered online from a group of ladies that I'm a part of a Facebook group with called Youth Pastors' Wives. And
I love that there's a Facebook group out there.
Yes, it is epic.
There needs to be a group therapy for this group of people, for sure.
There's a lot of therapy happening on that page. But the thing that came to my mind was, like you just mentioned, it was if you give a mouse a cookie. So I was basing the question off that, but instead it was if you're married to a youth pastor. And
so if you give a mouse a cookie, not for everyone who doesn't know what that is. It's just like, it's a very popular children's book that it's about like what?
If you give a mouse a cookie, they just keep wanting more and more and more.
Yes. Okay. So what you're saying here is you're saying is that youth pastors tend to keep asking for more and more things to be done.
Yes. If you're married to a youth pastor, they start off with a few things, and then over time you're asked to do stranger and crazy
and bigger things,
and bigger
to the point where the youth pastor is just the puppet, and the wife is really just running the show. So
Pretty much. So I could relate with a lot of the things these ladies were saying, but they came up with some really hilarious things.
So wait, are you going to tell the ladies ones first?
I think I'll tell mine first.
Okay, so you'll tell yours first, and then you're gonna share some of these ones online. We're gonna comment.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
I think one of the first introductions I had to.
I'm super scared right now. By the way, I don't know. I feel like I'm gonna be exposed here. No. This, I didn't even. We didn't screen any of this stuff. So
no, you won't
yes.
be.
All right, here we go.
Well, you won't be exposed too much.
Okay, just too much. Just a little naked.
So I remember one time back when we lived in Oregon, and we had our cute little house, and I like to keep the house tidy, and so I had gone away with my mom for a weekend, and I left with the house all in order because that's how I like to do it, so that when I come home, it's looking good for me. I feel like that helps me relax.
Yes.
So I went away with my mom. I'm thinking, okay, TJ's having a quiet night at home, back by himself. I'm hanging out with my mom. And then I think probably 11 p.m. at night or something, I think it was on Facebook because this was before Instagram was big. I see that you have posted a picture in our house at our living room or at our dining room table with what looked like 20 stinky middle school / high school boys. The counter was completely covered in bags of chips and 2-liter bottles of Mountain Dew.
Yes, yeah.
And you could even tell from the photo on Facebook that the boys were stinky and smelly, and that you guys had probably been up all night and were pretty much wrecking the house probably.
Yep.
So that was
all true things.
Yes. So that was that wasn't that traumatic, but that was one of my I showed it to my mom and I'm like, what the heck? I left the house beautifully clean. TJ could just relax tonight, but instead he decides to invite.
Where you saw me is this is an opportunity for me to just sort of veg and be by myself. I saw it as an opportunity to do some hardcore male bonding.
Yes.
That didn't sound right.
No, it's
but
true.
But anyway, that's exactly what we did. We rock starred that place. Did I not clean it up? Is that what they were?
I can't imagine that you cleaned it up. Why would you have cleaned it up? Not much has changed. I can't imagine that. I mean, and even so, how do you clean up crumpled Doritos chips all over the living room?
Well,
That's just hard to do.
How do you do that, Britt?
I would know.
That would be a different segment
yes,
for a different
it would.
podcast.
Yes,
so,
it would.
Yeah.
Okay, then the other thing is, I'll just share one more of mine, but I think this is a little bit self-induced because I cannot miss summer camp. No matter what happens, I cannot miss summer camp.
Summer camps is the biggie for all of us.
Yeah, and we've actually tried to plan. I don't know, for as much as we could, we tried to plan having children at times so that we won't have brand new babies during the summer because I cannot miss summer camp.
Our wedding happened in the winter.
Yeah.
And our 3 babies all happened where they were born in the winter.
Yes.
And almost in consecutive months.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yes. So that's a sacrifice that we make, and that's fine.
Yeah.
The first time that our firstborn son, the first time we took him to summer camp, he was only, I think, 5 months old.
Oh, wow.
So summer camp, and we do the tent camping thing, and that was mosquito camp.
Oh, yeah.
So I had a 5-month-old out at mosquito camp, and there were so many mosquitoes that I could not sleep outside in a tent. I had to sleep in our car for 5 nights with my 5-month-old. And
right, I remember.
Again, it's kind of self-induced, but this is just part of being married to a youth pastor. You've got to do these things.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing is we ended up having a mosquito hatch at this camp, and to this day, I mean,
wretched.
It was crazy. We've never seen anything quite like it, and so even when you get in your tent, there's tons of mosquitoes.
Yeah,
and
you
so
couldn't keep them out.
We had to set up that we weren't going to do it this way, but you had to sleep in the car.
Yeah.
Which we had a Honda Element at the time, which is the greatest camping car of all time.
It's true,
but it's still a 5-month-old.
Yeah.
Sleeping in a car with a fresh mama.
Yeah.
That screams youth ministry to me in so many levels.
Yeah, and I know that Julie Lemon listens to this podcast, and I honestly could not have gotten through that without Julie Lemon because she
It's not Julie Lemon.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Julie Powers.
Julie Powers.
Yeah, she kept me sane through those times as a new mom surrounded by mosquitoes. So with a fresh baby. Yeah. And then later, I think a couple years later when we had our second daughter, Macy, so I had a 6-month-old at camp, and that was at a different location where we were tent camping, where it was 105 degrees every day, and I was hauling the 6-month-old around, and I was so exhausted by the end of the week, and I think you didn't really notice how exhausted I was because you were so busy at camp.
Yeah.
I was so exhausted.
And because I'm a bad husband.
Well, it's not that so much. It's just your calling. You're busy with other stuff.
Yeah, and I'm not called to my wife apparently. So, okay.
Well, I was so exhausted by the end of the week that I had a super high fever and I had to be taken home early because of exhaustion. So these types of things, and some of these other ladies could relate. So those are mine, but shall I read a few from these other ladies?
Yes. Let's talk about some of these other ones. So this is the internet peoples.
Yeah, this is
Are these randos? No, these aren't necessarily randos.
No,
Okay.
these are just friends from the Facebook group that I'm a part of. Okay, so I love it. This one, the top comment that came in, and I can just see, I don't know what kind of crazy game they were playing, but she said she had to put baby oil on a rubber chicken to grease it up for a game. I thought, just so right.
Well, I just love that. I love the picture of of a youth pastor wife in some dingy kitchen in some church building, oiling up
That's rubber chicken.
a rubber chicken.
Yep.
And that's just one of those things that, like, if an old church person walks in on that, like, what do they think is happening? How do you deal with that? Like, honey, that's not a real chicken. You gotta.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. There's just different expectations for youth pastors' wives than I think senior pastors' wives.
Now I'm kind of stuck on like what that game was, because that sounds
I
awesome.
know.
That sounds awesome.
We have to play that at summer camp, but I am
if
not.
If anyone knows out there, any randos know what game it is that you lube a rubber chicken. You lube a rubber chicken. Tell us what it is so we can play it in our context.
Yeah, and you have an assistant now, as we know, Aubrey, so she can be the one that oils the chicken. I'm going to step out. I'm going to step away from that.
That's right.
Okay.
I have two women who work for me now. It's like a commune, like a cult leader somehow. So.
Yeah. Okay, I like this next one because I am also a believer in this.
I'm glad that you're a believer.
Yeah, in this particular thing. So this woman said they take their seniors and juniors Sasquatch hunting every year. And she says her husband and the pastor at church are believers.
Like actual believers in Sasquatch.
That's what I'm gathering.
That Bigfoot is out there in the world, even though we've never found any of his bones.
Yep, but I'm totally on board with that. I'm so on board with that.
You're a believer in Sasquatch?
Yeah.
Wow, you learn new things about your wife all the time.
Yeah.
It's actually the first time we've talked in 5 years. It's not been
It's true.
well, so.
It's true. Okay, so they take their juniors and seniors Sasquatch hunting on the last night of camp, and they have to go out in the woods and make squatch calls, which I'm so curious what that sounds like. They have to throw rocks, hit trees with sticks, and they have to basically become the Sasquatch out in the woods for those nights. Now, that seems like really fun to do when you're like 20 or something like that. But I'm just picturing that this woman has like 3 kids at home. She's like 35. She's out in the woods banging sticks on trees. And
she's got to be from like the Great Lakes. She's got to have that accent too. Oh yeah, we're going out squash hunting. Squatch hunting this year.
Yeah, I love that one.
Oh yeah, we're believers.
Okay, I have totally done this, and this was probably for a Christmas party, but this is a simple one. It's just she has been asked by her husband before to wrap a prize in a box, in a box, in a box, in a box, which sounds like such a fun idea, and it's something that her youth pastor husband probably saw online somewhere. Oh, this would be so cool. Yeah. But it probably took her hours upon hours to wrap this stinking thing in multiple boxes.
Yeah, and then some middle schooler grabbed a hold of it.
Yes.
And started ripping into it. And,
yes.
And the craftsmanship was just not admired at all.
No, not at all.
Pearl before swine.
So true. And this one is kind of a visual. So this woman had to deflate a gigantic beach ball.
Okay.
So I'm thinking like a gigantic one, like those Earth-sized balls.
Yeah, like the ones that will take out a whole family picnic.
Yes,
on the beach.
yes. She had to deflate a gigantic beach ball while 8 months pregnant. And that's epic. And I've been there. Like,
that might be therapy though, because don't pregnant women at 8 months kind of feel like a beach ball?
Yeah.
And so this is them, deflating that ball. So there's
being enveloped in a giant beach ball. I get that though, because like the last day of cleanup for camp, like for our camps, you are out basically just cleaning up your boat. And that's kind of what you're doing. Like, I'm just being honest. Like, you oversee things, but then you're out getting your boat ready.
Yeah, that's right.
But I have been stuck with a few youth leaders on the beach, like, deflating 20 or 30 blow-up toys, and it's insane. And I wasn't even pregnant at the time, so.
Yeah, the deflating of the toys, especially,
it's awful.
5 days in, 6 days into
they're
camp.
gross.
Because, they're gross. They're completely filled with sand, and, they're holding on by a thread, and you kind of just, like, thinking, a knife would be a solution to this problem.
Or let's just leave these things behind. All right, I'll just do a few more. I think we've all had to do this as people who are married to youth pastors. They come up with some crazy idea for a game that night or some raffle prize. And so this woman had to.
And it's always the night of. Like, it's not.
It's always the night of.
There's no great planning in any of these stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we got 4 hours. Can we make this happen?
Yes.
You know?
And so this woman had to pick up 300 chicken nuggets from Burger King and 50 tacos from Taco Bell. And I'm guessing that her husband was like, yes, and we want them there hot, too, so the kids can enjoy it. Like, that's
300 chicken nuggets. You got to love when someone comes through the...
Oh, it's so embarrassing.
And I bet she went through the drive-thru, too, because she's got 3 kids. She's in the van, you know, like, and she's not gonna go in and wait for it. So there's like 50 cars behind her, and she's gonna get her nuggets.
Yep,
That's
she's
right.
she's
gonna get those nuggets. Right?
Yeah. This is another great game idea. I don't know why we've never done this. She had to slip and slide into pancake batter.
Oh my!
I have no idea what that would have been for.
Slip and slide into pancake
batter.
Using the pancake batter to like slip and slide,
or is there just a giant pool of pancake batter
at the end of it?
Yeah.
I feel like it could be both.
Yeah, it could be both.
If they missed the idea that you could actually use it to slip on and slide on, then that's a tragedy in itself.
Yeah.
But man, that sounds awesome.
There's a lot of oil in pancake batter.
What's the problem with that? Like in my head, again, that sounds awesome.
I think, I guess so. It's just gross. And I don't see a lot of senior pastors' wives being asked to slip and slide into pancake batter. Like, they're expected to like join the ladies' luncheon and all this junk, but they're not out there slipping sliding into pancake batter. So just keep that in mind.
Their own parking spot at church and all that stuff, but they don't.
Okay, this one, I'll finish with this, and I think this is the grossest of all.
I love it.
This woman.
I don't even know what it is, but I love it.
Yeah, this woman was asked to sleep on the floor of a Motel 6 so that the 4 students could sleep in the beds.
Oh,
so this poor lady on the floor of a Motel 6.
All right, you got to have a higher view of your wife in that situation. There's no 6 middle schoolers, 5 middle schoolers, 30 middle schoolers who are worth more than my wife sleeping on a bed. Except for I did make you sleep in a car with an infant, so I guess I am that person.
For 5 nights.
Dang it.
Yeah, that's true.
Man.
Yeah,
I just kind of had that like flip on me just right there, you know?
Well, happy Mother's Day to me.
Tales from the Fringe. It is time for Tales from the Fringe. Britt is here today, and so I'm going to ask her, what is your tale from the Fringe? And I know which one you picked already, so I'm going to help. I want to help animate this story a little bit. So
okay. Yeah, I'm nervous to tell my tale from the Fringe because, as you know, I'm not a great storyteller.
Well, that's a terrible way to start off any story.
Well,
first of all, I'm going to stink this up. Okay?
It is, but anyone who knows, if anyone who's been in our ministries before knows that when I get a mic on stage, I say terrible things, awful things come out of my mouth. I word vomit.
Let's start there, okay? So at one point, happy Mother's Day, Britt. But at one point we were going to have an all-nighter, and we had not named the all-nighter, but you were announcing it from the stage.
Yeah.
Which just sounds like us. Like we don't have a name, we don't have a time,
right.
we don't have any of that stuff. But
right.
we're going to have this all-nighter. We decided to have this all-nighter, and the whole idea was we had a lot of cliques at youth groups, two big cliques that weren't kind of bonding with each other, and so we wanted the 2 cliques to have some time to bond. Yeah. And so you got up on stage and you said.
Well, I got up on stage and I just went with, I was thinking, okay, we want these kids to bond and we're going to be here overnight. What should we call this? And I got up and I said, hey, we really want to invite you guys to our night of bondage.
and it was during the time when we had to confiscate 50 Shades of Grey from girls' backpacks at retreat camps. So they all knew, it was just throughout the crowd, this sigh / laughter and the crazy thing about it was you didn't catch it.
Oh, I didn't catch it at all.
You didn't catch it, and you said Night of Bondage
so many times.
10 times.
I just kept saying Night of Bondage over and over. We want you to come out to the Night of Bondage. We want you to experience it, to get close to one another.
And the truth about that whole thing was, that was our biggest attended all-nighter of all time. So that was an awesome time. But that is not your tale from the Fringe. Your tale from the Fringe is about a Fringe student. Go ahead, Britt.
Yeah, my tale from the Fringe is about one of our favorite Fringe students, who is Juan de Jesus Gonzalez.
Yes, Juan from Jesus.
Yeah, and Juan was so special to me from the very start. Mm-hmm. I didn't have kids yet. Juan was a young kid when we met him, and I felt like I made a strong connection with him. At that time, we were just in a really small rural town in Oregon, really small population, and we didn't have hardly any volunteers. We had a youth group, 30, 40 kids.
Yeah.
But we just didn't have very many volunteers, and Juan didn't have a way to get around, so I would always take him home in the evenings, which was about a 4-minute drive from church to the trailer park that he lived in. And I think you guys have talked about that before, where he lived. So I was driving Juan home one night.
Yes.
And
okay, first of all, like, you're driving him alone, which is, again, bad protocol. But again, we're early. This is like year one of youth ministry for us. Yeah. We're like kids ourselves. Yeah. We're like 19, 20 years old at this point. Yeah.
Which is probably just all the more a dumb decision. But back, it wasn't made that much of a deal of. Yeah. Back then. I should have known better. But Juan and I drove Juan home all the time. It was a 4-minute drive from church. Mm-hmm. And I think you guys have mentioned about his trailer park before, that it was overrun by feral cats.
Yes. So he lived in a trailer home park.
Yeah.
And that a lot of our students at that point came from this one trailer park, and it was called it was called Olds Mobile Home Park in Aurora. That's right. And their whole thing was, what happens at Olds Mobile Home Park stays. And the crazy thing is, they didn't even know the Vegas thing about that. Yeah. They just had found that on their own. So.
Yeah. So I'm driving him home one night, and as you get down, his house was towards the back of the park, and there were multiple speed bumps as you were going through. So you had to really take it slow through the park. And at one point, when we had passed a couple speed bumps, we were slowly getting closer to his house. At one point, we had to stop completely because there were 2 cats in the middle of the road. Yes. In the middle of the road, and I don't know what you call it, making love. I don't know.
Cats don't make love.
What was it
Anybody
called?
who's ever witnessed any type of cat,
mating. Okay,
cat mating. It is not consensual. It does not look consensual. That's for sure.
So there were 2 cats mating in the center of the road.
Center of the road.
And Juan is a middle schooler.
You can't go around it.
I'm a bashful 21-year-old. Juan's a middle schooler, and we just had to sit there and watch because we could not. We couldn't drive forward. I couldn't stop it. You know what I mean?
Man. And Juan is, first of all, one of the most awkward individuals of all time, right? He's one of those guys who prides themselves on how awkward they can make you feel. That's their favorite thing. And so I gotta think that Juan was in heaven during this, because this situation is grade A awkward.
It was super awkward, and it felt like it took 20 minutes, but I know that we were probably only sitting there for a minute.
A minute, though. I mean, a full minute. Just watching, just having to watch this. And then they finish, right? And
so the cats finished, and then Juan
they scatter in different directions?
Yeah, that's true. They scattered in different directions. They were finally out of our way. And before we started moving forward again, Juan looked over towards me and he said, "You saw nothing."
So you guys didn't talk about it the whole time? It was just dead silence. You watch these cats, and then
you saw nothing, and that was the end of it. I wasn't going to question. I wasn't going to comment.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I dropped Juan off that night, and I hope to never think about it again. But unfortunately, I think it was brought up again.
Oh, it's been brought up several times.
Yeah.
The second you told me that story, I knew that was the greatest thing that ever happened to us.
No, that was quite a bonding moment for Juan and I.
It really was.
But I love that kid. And he's not a kid anymore.
No.
He's a man.
He is not a kid anymore. And Juan's special to us. That was a great tale from the Fringe.
Yeah.
And oh man, do I love that stuff.
I know.
Yeah. All right. My tale from the Fringe goes back to way back in the day when we first started in youth ministry. Now, Britt and I met at camp. We met at a camp where we were the high school volunteers at a middle school camp, and I made that camp be about me and Britt hanging out. Unfortunately, I manipulated every setting I could so that me and her were the partners at that camp, and that was really kind of where our friendship began. And from that point on, we were really great friends. And then obviously it progressed. But youth ministry has been something that's just been special to me and you. It's been like the center point of our marriage. Mm-hmm. And both me and you dreamed about youth ministry before we went to college. We went to college for youth ministry. While we're in college, we dreamed of it. And then all of a sudden, here we are, our senior year at Multnomah in Oregon, and I've gotten a job, and it's the first time anybody's ever called me a youth pastor before. It's our first youth group. Now, we've done volunteer stuff. We've done internship. We've been volunteers in just various different youth ministry settings. But this is really our very first youth group. And I remember us showing up to interview for that job. And Britt knows this well about me, is I get some pretty raging nervous diarrhea.
Oh gosh.
And so we show up to interview for this job, and we go into this mobile home park. Again, the community we're in. There's a lot of things, but this was like the one house in the mobile home park, because the elder of the church that we were at, he ran the mobile home park. Or
managed it.
Managed it, but he had the one house in the mobile home park, which is status symbol. Awesome, you know. Yeah. So we go in there, and I'm nervous, and I know that I have to go to the restroom, right? And so the first thing I do when I get there is I'm like, and Britt and I go there. I go, can I use your restroom? I'm sorry, it's just been a long drive, and so I'm thinking I got to do this fast, you know. And so I leave Britt with all of the different church leaders who are wanting to ask us questions, and I go to the restroom. And we go back to this, and he shows me where the bathroom is. And all of a sudden, the first thing I see on this thing is that doesn't have a real door. It has like a vented door. Like the door is like a vent. I don't know how else to describe that. Like if you're a tall person, you can look in on this thing.
Yeah.
You know, you can see into the bathroom. And
there were like slats.
Yeah,
that you could see
slats. And so I'm like, this is a weird bathroom. So I walk in, and I look down, and the tub is sunken. I don't know how else to describe that. They made it so you don't have to climb into the tub. Like, you don't have to like hop over the tub. You could just like step down into the tub. And it was like a regular tub that they had just basically sunk it into the ground and like concreted over. I'm like, that is strange too. So vented door, sunken thing. And then one of the walls of this whole bathroom is basically
a window. Not basically, it was a full window.
It was a full window. Bottom of the floor to the top of the ceiling to their backyard.
Yeah.
Right? And it didn't have like a curtain on it anyway. It was like a part of their backyard where you could tell there wasn't a whole lot of people, but it's still, there's a backyard here, right? And so I'm sitting here thinking like, this is not private at all. And I, of course, I've got to take care of my business. And I try to do it as fast as I can so no one knows that I did anything in there. And I think there was like a dog that ran by in the window and scared me at one point. But anyway, I finish up quick. So, really in the range of maybe I peed. And so
I knew the truth.
I came back out, and there's just kind of this silence that's kind of going on in there. And I'm like, I don't know what to say. I'm nervous. And everyone's kind of looking at me. And so I kind of just think, that was a weird bathroom. And so I say it out loud. I'm like, you got kind of a really strange bathroom. And I'm like, why did I just say that? Like the first, the second, and then, like I was thinking that maybe they'll say me like, yeah, no, it's weird, right? We moved in, it was like that.
Right.
But no, there was no saving of this whole thing. Basically, it was just, no, what's so weird about it? Well, I was like, it's got a door that's a vent and a sunken, and it's got that big, and everyone in the thing, because not everyone lives there. There's other elders and everything. It's like, well, what's so weird about it? I want to see this bathroom.
Oh, no. And
so they all walk back together as a group. To investigate this weird bathroom that I have claimed to, and I've just,
you stunk it up hardcore.
Just stunk it up. So
it's just terrible.
Somehow we still got that job though, and we started in youth ministry, and I remember that being my introduction to elder boards, and so.
Well, and that was before poopery, too. If you would have traveled around with poopery, you would have been fine. Yeah, but that was before those days.
Yeah, we Amazon sell poopery, so go ahead and just go head over there, head on over to there and get some poopery.
Oh, man.
Anyway, no, that was my tale from the Fringe there, and
that was the first experience with the elder board, like you said, but that was also the first of many nervous diarrhea stories when it comes to ministry.
I get nervous diarrhea so much, and there's a lot of youth. You know what? Hey. Youth pastors, if you get nervous diarrhea like me, go ahead and comment to the Facebook page. No. You're in good company. And,
buy some poopery for
tell us your story on that.
Oh, my word. Okay, we probably have 4 minutes to wrap
All right,
this up.
So here we go. Pick it or flick it. Our newest segment. Britt is going to be giving us these topics, and we're going to comment on them and decide if these are things we want to pick or things we want to flick.
Yeah.
Like a booger.
Like a booger.
Like a booger.
I love how you guys took it that direction.
You know what? That's a high-end Fringe Youth Ministry title right there.
Yeah. Okay, so our first topic for Pick It or Flick It is such an easy one for me. It is church lock-ins.
Church lock-ins.
Youth group lock-ins. Overnighters. Would you pick them or would you flick them?
Would you pick them or flick them? So picking them means that you like them.
Yeah.
And flicking them means...
Get rid of them.
Get them out of here. This is not an okay thing here.
Yeah.
You know me, right? Like, I got this love-hate relationship with them.
I know you do, and that's the annoying part.
Here's the thing is, I hate losing sleep. I don't like, the fact that you have to program so hard for a whole night. I hate that lull of the night where it's like, well, we're going to do this. It's 3 o'clock in the morning. We're going to make sure we do this.
Right.
But they work. They work. They breathe energy into programs. If you got culture problems, if you need two groups to bond together, they work. So I as much as I want to flick them, and as much as the old get off my lawn youth pastor in me is like, no, I will probably go back to all-nighters. Yes. But I do think that every all-nighter takes about 4 years off of your youth ministry career.
Yes.
So if you were a guy...
And your volunteer youth ministry career.
Yeah.
They're helpers, too.
Yeah. So what about you?
Well, I guess what bothers me about the church lock-in thing, and I can do pick or flick, but what bothers me, I'm going to go back to you for a second.
Yeah.
What bothers me is that as soon as a lock-in is over, like the next day, you're like, we're never doing this again. You're like, you flick it, you tell the volunteers, like, I'm so sorry we had you here, we're never doing this again. I know it's exhausting. At least that's how I think it's communicated.
Yes, it's true.
And then literally like 2 months later, you're like, it's time for a lock-in. So
it's not 2 months, usually like 6 months later.
I know. And thankfully the volunteers are so gracious and they're full on board with it. But if it were up to me, if I were pastor in this place, I would flick those things, man. I am so done with church lock-ins. I'm so, like, all it is like pouring sugar and soda down kids so they can stay up all night and be crazy.
Yeah.
And it just gets so much harder. Like, now that we're in our 30s, it's so much harder than when we were in our 20s.
It's true. But one of the things that we did learn about this,
yes,
if there's going to be a learning part, is that if you have a younger staff, like a college-age staff,
yes,
they can really carry an all-nighter. And so if you're in a situation where you're like, I hate lock-ins, but you know that you have just a ton of college staff members, it might be something to put on them to plan and to really lean into their energy, or that's because they're going to stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning either way. Yeah. So they're the type of people that you can really lean into that. So all right,
totally.
I pick, you flick.
Okay, so number 2. Let's go to number 2. Donated furniture in the youth room. Would you pick it or would you flick it?
Oh man. Well, okay, so first of all, I'm going to just preface with it. Some of the coolest stuff that we have in our youth room was donated. We have a really nice pool table. Yeah. Like, it's really nice. And we have this giant love sack. Those things are expensive, and that was donated too. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, it's a flick. Mm-hmm. I have to really ask. Like, for me, I ask questions. Mm-hmm. Hey, I got this thing I want to donate. Okay, can you send me a picture? Hey, what is this thing? And sometimes you get really good stuff. Usually, if the person giving it, and this is going to sound really messed up, but if the person giving it's a doctor, it's probably going to be a quality item. If the person giving it has got like 25 kids and 50 cats, it's probably not going to be a quality item. And so, you gotta really, I don't know where to go on that. Very, very rarely do I pick them. Yeah. But most of the time I flick them.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the point, because back when we first started in youth ministry, I don't think we knew how to say no when people wanted to give us stuff.
We're still not good at no, but I'm better at it now.
Yeah, but we didn't know how to say no, and so people would just dump stuff off.
Yeah. They wouldn't even ask.
Yeah.
It was like, this old couch, they're not taking it at Goodwill, so.
A bunch of side tables, stuff that you just don't need.
Yeah, those old lady side tables.
Yeah, remember those? Yeah. And I think now I would totally pick, well taken care of donated items. Yeah. But what I really don't like is when you walk into a youth room and it just feels like, if it's old and messy, and it just feels like you're not pouring a lot of love and attention into that space. I feel like that's not fair to teenagers.
Yeah,
so I want a youth space to feel like, hey, we value you. This isn't just where all the junk furniture goes and you can just treat it like junk. We value you. We want a nice environment for you. So I think you have to be picky about which furniture you take. And so
are you picky in it?
I would picky in it.
Okay.
I'm picky in it.
Okay. All right. Next topic.
All right. Let's do graduation parties.
Oh, graduation.
Pick or flick.
This is easy for me. Flick. flick. They're all the same thing. It's all congratulations on completing the easiest part of your life. Okay, I mean, okay, and here's the thing. That comes from someone who loves teenagers.
Yes,
I love high schoolers. I mean, that is my specialty in life. I love hanging out with them. I love celebrating all things teenager.
Yeah,
but man, are those things like self-aggrandizing. I mean, man, it's like, here's pictures of them growing, and it's fun, it's cute, but they're all the same thing. It's all kind of that idea. And you know, I love getting together with people. I love talking to people. Maybe it's just there's been too many of them in my life. Maybe I've just been spoiled on them a little bit, you know. And if there's good food, then sometimes I'm like, okay, good.
Yeah, right.
You know, you got the pulled pork, all right, I'm in.
Yes.
But other times it's like, I don't want to go.
Yes.
And again, that's there are parents who listen to this podcast. A lot of parents. I don't stop inviting me to your things. I do love your student and want to celebrate them, but you know, you just got to understand where I'm coming from on this. Like, I've been to a lot of them.
Well, graduation season is hard for youth pastors and youth workers.
I mean, I would flick graduation altogether.
Yes,
I going to graduations. I mean, that whole season is
it's just hard because there's so many kids, there's so many schools, so many ceremonies.
And if you're in our area, we got 5 schools that we represent nowadays.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, it was just like one school, you know, and that was easy. And then, you know, when we lived in Oregon, I had allergies. Oh my gosh.
Oh, and they were all outdoor graduations.
Oh my gosh, I thought I was going to die out there. Like, youth pastor dies at graduate. That sounds like a Babylon Bee article.
Yes.
But that what was going to happen to me out there. So yes, I'm not a big fan of the graduation season.
I know.
We have the baccalaureate. Yes. We have the graduation.
Recognition on Sundays. Recognition at youth group. Yeah. All the parties.
It's just a lot.
It's a lot.
It's extra.
Yeah.
And it's at a time when you're like wanting to push everything towards camp. Like you want to put all of your stuff into camp, so it always feels like an extra thing. So,
will I do a graduation party for our own kids? Probably.
Absolutely.
Probably.
I mean, what are you going to do with all those pictures? Those 7,000
yes.
pictures that you have on your iPhone.
Right. I'm totally going to do it for our own kids. Do I like going to 15 of them every season? No.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flick it for that reason. Yeah. But just know that when Max is 18, I am going to throw such a sweet graduation party. It is going to be awesome.
I don't know if they're going to have enough photo cards for you to print all the photos that you have and stuff. So
that's true.
But you know, again, I think that graduation parties are for the moms, and since this is a Mother's Day episode,
we should honor that.
Yeah, we should say, hey, you know what? Good for you.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not for us, and you can hate on us for hating on your graduation parties.
Yeah.
So
true that.
That's good. One more. Yeah. Let's do our last one.
Okay. Last one. Let's make it quick. The royal baby was born this week, Prince Harry's son, and they named him Archie. Go.
Archie.
Go.
That is the perfect name.
What's your first take on that?
Okay, first of all, it's hilarious, okay? But it is the perfect name for a royal baby. Archie. Is there a better name than Archie?
No.
I mean, that sounds so royal. It sounds so British. It sounds so, and it's like, you know, in a world where we're giving kids weird names, like weird not fitting names like Magnolia. I don't know. Is their baby's name Magnolia?
Yeah, and I think it's really cute.
Oh, okay, sorry. But you know, like what do we give?
Sure, I get it.
We give them weird names, you know, nowadays, and weird spellings. I think it's good to just have like, hey, of course the prince would be named Archie.
Yeah.
So
I have another take on it. I think Archie sounds like a dog name. And I love dog names.
Okay, first of all, our firstborn's name is Max, which is like the #1 dog name.
Yeah, and I wanted to name Macy a dog kind of name, but no one would let me. And
what was that?
What was it? I can't remember right now, but I know that I had a bunch of choices that everyone was like, that's what you would name a dog. And I was like, I love that for some reason because they're just really nicknamey and they're really like short and cute. Mm-hmm. So I'm all on board with Archie. I'm proud of Harry and his wife, and I'm just like, I'm totally for it.
Well, of course, his dad's name's Harry. Baby's name's Archie.
It's just cute.
It's good. Good job, royal family. And you know what?
Nothing to do with youth ministry, except babies become youths.
Yeah, they do become youth, and that's good. Well, what an awesome privilege we got to do on Mother's Day this week to interview Britt for the podcast here. I want to thank you, and for all the mothers out there, thank you for what you do. For all the youth ministry mothers, for all you youth ministry mothers who aren't mothers yourself, but these kids at youth ministry, they are your kids. I want to say thank you for all you've done. It makes it special. You make our job easier. Please join us over on the Facebook Conversation Zone. This is the Fringe Youth Worker Podcast.
Fringe Youth Worker Podcast. Don't believe anything my